Well, so Emu shows up and kicks a lot of ass and cuts off a lot of limbs in this video, in this chapter. So that's fun. Although we'll go to the cover page first, then we'll move into the chapter. Because at least the cover page is kind of, happy-go-lucky. So the cover page is, reader request. And it is Vegapunk having made it that Zeus can rain candy. So we have Zeus is raining candy down, and Vegapunk's there, and we have Chopper just so happy because Candy and Nami is there as well. So just nice little fun cover page. That's about like the only fun thing that we see in this chapter. That's happy-go-lucky, innocent. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. So chapter 1180, titled Omen, or it can also be read as Maki or Demonic Aura. So yeah, fun. Also, Omen. I don't know, reference to the movie The Omen. I don't know. I've never seen it. Horror movies are not my interest. So we get a couple of different fun double page spreads in this chapter. We start off with a double page spread where we get a much better view of Emu. So not too much to add from what we saw at the end of last chapter, where he's got like slightly S-shaped horns. He's got the darker colored skin, which we don't know the color yet. We don't know if it's going to be kind of like brownish the way that King's is, or a lot of people are saying like red colored skin, kind of the way that like the devil is generally depicted as having red skin. So that's a possibility. But he has lots of dots all over his skin, like from his neck down and down to like around mid, just between his elbow and his wrist. He's got lots of dots there. His clothing does have a little bit of like an Elbath flair to it, with like the big belt and the big pants, kind of the way that we've seen some of them dress. We do kind of get confirmation for a rough size estimate of Emu in this chapter. He is bigger than a normal human, because later we see his foot is around the same size as Sanji, but he is smaller than the average giants, because we see him smaller than Hybridine and Gerd and such. So he's somewhere in that range. I think it's implied that he's supposed to be around the height of like Big Mom and Kaido, like that size range. So not, still big by human standards, but he's not like a giant or an ancient giant sized being. So we have Emu perched on top of the tower that he emerged on at Oust Castle, and he's looking down at the village that is the weird little evil homey dancing houses right now, singing and dancing houses, and he pops in and looks directly at the group, and this would be Zoro's group. So this is like Hybridine and Gerd is here, are here, Stanson, Dorian Broggy, and Jarl and Chopper are here. And he's like, who is the king of this country? Is what he's asking. And Dorian Broggy are like, who the heck are you? This country doesn't have a king. And he looks over and he sees Summers still being held in, Gerd's fingers, like she was holding him last chapter, where he was kind of like broken in half, and they had like his little mechanical heart outside of his body, and she was holding him, and he was like trying to piece himself back together. And Summers is just like, great one. And Summers just blitzes over. Why you gotta do this to my girl? Why you gotta do this to my girl, Emu? I love Gerd. I've been voting for her a couple of times in the popularity poll. Why you gotta do this to Gerd? He dashes over and he slices Gerd's fingers. He slices her finger, or forefinger, and her thumb on both hands from how she's holding Summers in order to free Summers. So Summers starts falling, and Emu is just like, what are you doing, Summers? Like, why are you in this situation? What resulted in you being held captive by this giant woman? So Summers is falling. Gerd's fingers have been cut, and it happens so quickly, she's just like, huh? And, I mean, to be fair, Gerd is a doctor. Chopper is a doctor. Depending on circumstances, I don't think it would be impossible for them to find a way to get to reattach her fingers, but she, so she's a doctor. She needs her hands to do surgery and things like that. That's one of the very important things of being a doctor. She is also, a warrior. So we'll see what ends up happening. I don't know. So everybody's like, oh my God, Hyrudine's like, Gerd, and Zoro's concerned. And so Summers crashes to the ground. And which is just kind of funny. He crashes to the ground. Gerd kind of like falls to the side because she's like, that would be a lot of pain from having your thumbs and forefingers cut off. And there's like, her fingers, that maggot, and like the weird evil homie houses in the background are still doing like the whatever the inverse of the drums of liberation are. And Chopper is like, that's awful. Where is he? Or what is he? And Emu is just kind of standing there. He's kind of landed on the ground. Zoro kind of like slides into position, ready to try to attack him. Summers is piecing himself back together, and he's grabbed his heart. Should have stabbed it while you had the chance there, Zoro. So, and we do see in this comparison that Emu is quite a bit taller than Zoro. And yeah, we do see part of Emu's cloak, and it does appear that the symbol on Emu's cloak does appear to be like the symbol of the abyss, like the Deep Seas Covenant one that we saw earlier on Harald. So some connection there, possibly. Zoro is like, are you another one of those knights? So they're assuming that Emu is some type of a god's knight. Emu didn't exactly introduce himself to them. So, yeah. And Hyrudine is like rearing back, trying to attack, whatever he is. He's an enemy, getting ready to attack him. And Stanson is like, Hyrudine, don't attack him. And Mu unleashes a strike. Stanson manages to jump and kick Hyrudine out of the way. Unfortunately, this results in Stanson's leg being lopped off. And it's just like, we don't know what's up with this guy. So Hyrudine is okay. Stanson's got a leg cut off, and unfortunately Gerd had fingers cut off. So not good there. So of course they're very concerned about Stanson. Chopper is trying to figure out what to do, and they're like, we've got to get away from him. And Stanson is just like, Hyrudine to Stanson is like, forgive me, Stanson. And Bragi is just like, who is he in regards to Emu? And Zoro is rearing up for King of Hell 3-sword style Purgatory Onigiri. So one of his higher octane attacks. Has got his swords all charged up, and he's ready to hit Emu. And Emu's tail just comes out and blocks it. Just goes right in front of Zoro's attack path and just blocks the attack without Emu breaking a sweat. So, and we do see this is his tail. This is the pointed tail that we saw him use before when he attacked Sabo and Cobra during Reverie in the throne room. So same tail. Probably a bit bigger than it was back then, possibly. I hear Chip in the background. So what ends up, so they do that. He's protected himself there from the attack. And of course, we're getting like a size comparison here where he's quite a bit bigger than Zoro. And then he just like holds up his hand, and in the center of it appears a Blackfire. And Omen. Blackfire? We got Starfire's sister in here? Awesome. Teen Titans reference. Not Teen Titans Go. Original Teen Titans. Blackfire was awesome. She was evil, but she was awesome. So he's opened up his hand, or he set his palm out, and there's like this black flame that has appeared here, and he calls it an omen. And he just kind of not flicks it, but like shoots it at Zoro, and it just hits Zoro right in the face. We're going to see Zoro is very, injured by this. And so Zoro gets sent flying back. He's like burned, like this thing exploded in his face. And so, Chopper's like, Zoro, like, oh no. And then Emu clocks Hyrudine has shown up. Hyrudine has jumped into the air and has got his axe ready and is ready to bring it down on Emu. And he just, has the omen and he just fires like another omen, demon aura, whatever you want to call it, at Hyrudine. And we just get like this huge explosion. So Hyrudine has been exploded, unfortunately. And everybody's just like, Hyrudine, no! Like, we see a bunch of the houses are getting more destroyed than they were. So big explosion. Hyrudine has been knocked to the ground. Zoro has been knocked to the ground. They are both injured. And Emu is looking over at Summers, and he's like, he's summoned up a black flame that's actually turned into like a ring and is sending it over to Summers. So someone is asking, what are these black flames? What are these like black flames? So we've seen the black lightning show up before. That's mostly associated with the Gorosei when they first showed up at Egghead. We got like the black hockey lightning and stuff like that coming off of them. And kind of the black flames-ish as they were like coming out of their out of the like the pentagram ritual circle marks. But this is a bit different. Obviously these flames hold a power that Emu is able to use, and he's using it here to like heal Summers, like he's regenerating him. And he, Summers now has like this like ring over the back of himself, not with the eyes on it like Emu's, but still has like a ring over his back. And it's just like, ha 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 ha, yes, woo, this is an omen. This is it, an omen. So he's like powered up. And Emu is just like, quickly, Summers, there is no time to waste. Yes, great one. So they just both jump off in different directions. Emu jumps into the air, and so does Summers. We don't see where Summers goes, I don't think, but we do see where Emu goes because we're going to follow Emu for a second. Assumedly, Summers is going to go try to do something where he's going to try to go after some more kids or something like that, try to get hostages again, whatever you want to call them. And as Emu leaves the area, there is actually, like, his area of effect is shifting. The houses are going back to normal. Like they are, like the black flame, the weird evil homie set of, not that well, homies are not inherently evil. Homies under the order of Big Mom are her children in regards to hurting people. They fall under the category of bad, but they don't seem implicitly evil most of the time. These things just give off like weird, demented homie vibes. And like they just like they just like whoosh, as Emu leaves, the houses go back to normal. They're no longer like possessed and doing the weird singing. And so everybody's like, I'm assuming it's Chopper giving orders here or something like, Zoro, let's get into the building now. Everybody gather the injured and the kids who were passed out. It is Chopper giving these orders. So like Chopper needs to get to treating everybody. He needs to see if there's anything that he can do about Gert's fingers, see if there's anything he can do about Stanson's leg, treat, Zoro and Hyrudine to the best of his ability. And of course, a bunch of the kids passed out when Emu showed up, so we've got to get the kids safe so that way they're not in danger at the moment. And we see Jarl, and he's just kind of like, like he is a bit confused as to what's going on here, or at the very least he seems to be thinking, trying to see if like maybe he can think of anything that might fall under like something he's heard before. Now remember, Jarl is over 400 years old, so his parents and grandparents probably would have been alive during the Void Century. At the very least, his parents and grandparents would have been alive during the Void Century. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents would have been alive during that time frame. So it is quite possible that he may have some information as to something that could qualify to give them some type of information about what's going on here with Emu. Like there were stories about someone who fought against Joy Boy, and he had these weird dark flame powers or something like that. Like that could be something, and he just might be like, what the hell is going on here? I just wanted to live out my golden years in retirement. This is not helping. Oh wait, this may not be a super long chapter because it's mostly action-packed. There's not really a lot of lore drops here, so we'll see how long this chapter ends up being. If anything, it just means it goes up sooner, which is good because my freaking allergies have been killing me, and my niece has a concert this evening that I really hope I can enjoy. So, they are sending out a message across Elbath again. People of Elbath, someone even more dangerous than the God's Knights has appeared on the island. Stay alert. So Emu is flying about, and he's literally flying because he has like turned his black flames into wings, so he looks even more Lunarian now. Again, since we don't know his exact skin color yet, for all we know, he could be dark blue, I don't know, or dark green or something. I don't know. I don't know what skin color Oda's gonna go with here. We'll see. But he looks very much, very Lunarian right now with like the white hair and the dark skin and the black wings. And like the eye thing on his back that kind of looks like flames. So he looks very kind of Lunarian right now. But I don't think that's what he's going to end up being, or at the very least, not like a full Lunarian. So we're cutting around to some of the other villages, and we're seeing someone else is here. So it's not over yet. Keep your weapons ready. I've had enough of these the fires and the collapsing buildings. Yeah, join the crew. So Emu is making his way around, and he has found the ice block where Gunko is being held. Now, Loki mentioned earlier in the prior chapter that the only way that Gunko was going to be getting out of this giant block of ice was if he had Ragnir, melt the ice. That was the only way that they were going to get her out of it. Clearly not, because he's flying about and he looks over and he just, holds up the end of his, Bacento staff, Naginata thing, whatever you want to call it, his polearm weapon. And he points the bottom at the ice thing, Emu does, and it fires off one of the little omen things, and it hits the ice cube, and it explodes. Now, we do not see Gunko again in this chapter, so assumedly she is freed from it. And he may have, used this to destroy the ice and then use it to give her, an omen power up like we just saw him do with Summers. And we're going to see him do something in a moment as well. So we're going to cut over to where Gabon's group is, which is just Gabon and Kashi at this point in time, I think. Or at the very least, Gabon. We don't see Kashi here, but we see Gabon. And it may have been some of the other giants that Chopper managed to, knock the Domi Reversi out of. So it's over near the lift in the realm of the sun. And Scopper is just what's going on? I've never felt hockey like this before, not even on God Valley. So Summers obviously was on God Valley. We know this from the flashback that we got. And he would have felt some of the hockey coming off of Emu when Emu was possessing Saturn. And then, of course, when when Domi Reversi was used on rocks. But at the moment, that would have been a much more dampened hockey because it's not fully Emu there being able to use their power. It's just like how Gunko being possessed by Emu was a fraction of Emu's power, and now that Emu is here, that is just magnified by however many fold, 10-fold, 50-fold, 100-fold, take your pick. And it's coming straight from the source as opposed to an alternate mimic of it or something. So Scopper is just I haven't felt anything like this, not even on God Valley. Oh my God. I don't know how much use Scopper is going to be in this fight, but we'll just have to see. So we're cutting back to the Walrus School, where someone clearly, I don't know, somehow did a fire attack. It must have been Loki or something, did a bit of a fire attack or something on the food. So it's not frozen anymore, but as Luffy states, now it's all burnt. And Loki's quit whining. This beats eating frozen food. Sure. So they're just like shoveling food into their mouth, and of course Loki definitely needs to recharge. Ragnar does too, and Luffy is still like in like his deflated form, so he really needs to get all stuffed back up again because they know something's coming and they're gonna have to go fight it. So and Loki is just like stock up on energy while you can. Seems something crazy just arrived. Yeah. Hi, boo boo. What you doing? Are you my boo boo? Are you my chip? You're my good boo. Thank you, boo. You're so cute. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You're very cute. My cute little boop. Now, go back to your thing. Stop bothering me, mommy. He's like, I will lay here. I am cute, baby. Yeah, you are very cute. So, true, you guys do need to get stock back up on your energy. So now we're cutting over to where Nami and Sanji's group are. So Nami is over by Jinbei, Frankie, and then knocked out Brooke and Usopp right now. And she's running over and she's like, what is going on? What the heck is going on here? And Jinbei is just like, no idea, but this hockey is terrifying. If they're with the Gods Knights, oh, that's not good. So kind of eating their words. Eating your words there, aren't you, Frankie? Over, we're just too strong. It's just like, final boss shows up. Yeah, no, you all need upgrades. So Jinbei is just like, is their target, like, is their target going after something else? Is it going to be going after the kids again? And we see that, someone, an omen shows up and it like whooshes and frees Kiringham, so he's falling down, and like the omen ring is like coming down to him, and he's just like, an omen, thank heavens. And Sanji is just like, hey, who the hell are you? And we see the Walrus School and the library in the background here, so we're by the Warrior Spring again, and we see like the frozen area there. Emu has landed here, and again we see his size comparison to Sanji, where he's quite a bit bigger than Sanji. And he, so Kiringham has been freed, and we're seeing, Nami, Jinbei, and Frankie looking down on this from where they are, and it's just like, Sanji, that person's dangerous. Yeah. And Sanji jumps up and he's activating probably Ifrit Janbei or some variation of it, and he's like, who said you could free him? So he's angry about the fact that Kiringham got freed, given the effort that they put into, split him into pieces and tie him up for the racist that he is. And so he attacks, he releases his attack on Emu. Emu just like holds up his foot and blocks it, and then knocks Sanji back, does like a flip turn, or Emu does like a turn, and he brings his foot forward, which is now wrapped in black flames, and he kicks Sanji, and big explosion sends Sanji flying, and the others are like, oh god, Sanji, what's going on? And Jinbei is just like, what's with these black flames? So it's like the flames are kind of spreading, like Emu kind of comes with this like area of effect. So the last bit of the chapter is like this double page spread. And Loki shows up. So we see giant foot come into frame in front of Emu, which makes, Emu look dwarfed. And he's just like, hey, what business do you have on Elbath? Is what Loki is asking. And Emu is looking up. 14 years ago, Harald was killed here. I have come to find the one responsible. He was my servant. And Loki is just like hell he was. Harald was my father, and more than that, he was the king of Elbath. So like, I am the one you're looking for. And we get this great shot that just shows like Emu looking so dwarfed in front of Loki, and it is very similar to like the panel of like Kaido's introduction, where he like fell from the sky and landed where Kid, Killer, Hawkins, and Kid were, and Apu were having their meeting, and we get like this shot of like Kid and Hawkins and Apu looking up at Kaido. So this is very similar to that shot, with like Loki just lording over, towering over Emu with how big he appears, how big he is compared to Emu. and Loki, and like we get like lightning going off behind them. And he's got Ragnar in his hand, so Ragnar has at least turned back into the hammer. We don't see Luffy here. So either we'll get in the next chapter. I don't think there's a break next week. So either we'll have in the next chapter Luffy showing up and either helping Loki battle, or he's going to try to do something to try to get like the rest of his crew out of there so they're at least safely away. You know, check on Sanji, get them out of the way as best as possible, and then go back and maybe help. Or Loki might just be like, let me take care of this guy for a minute. You get your, you go get your weak ass crew to safety or something like that. So we'll see what's going on. But we have Loki towering over him. And he's like, I'm the one you're looking for. It's like, I'm the one who killed Harald. And Emu is just like, I see. If thou had not been here, many troublesome tribulations could have been avoided. And Loki's like, where in the world would I have been but Elbath? Like, where the F do you think I would have been if I wasn't on Elbath 14 years ago? And he's like glaring down at Emu, and he's just like, remember that next time, you dumbass. So Emu is not having the best week. Vegapunk's message got out. Now, and then he got traumatized by the hockey knot from Emmett that had Joy Boy hockey in it. Now he's on Elbath and he's having to deal with this. He got chewed out by Usopp about being a coward, and now he's here and Loki's calling him a dumbass. So Emu's having a very interesting week for him. I'm sure he hasn't had this interesting of a week in a long time. Emu's like, one of the reasons Moo left is because Moo's going to have a little bit of fun. Moo hasn't gotten to have fun for a while. I've been sitting in this castle for 800 years. I would like to have had a little bit of fun every now and then. All I have are 5 old men and the God's Knights to talk to, and to be quite honest, none of them are very good conversationalists. Why do you think I hang out with butterflies? So, again, we get like a lot of action in this chapter. We get Emu showing up. We see him demonstrating some more of his power with his omens. Clearly, these omens have the ability to heal the God's Knights, to power them back up again. Emu is exceedingly fast. We saw that with how quickly he can move about. He can turn the omens into, or at least turn his black flame type stuff into wings. Which is helpful for him because he can fly, although I don't know if that's necessarily necessary, but he can fly. He is quite large, although not as large as the giants or as large as Loki, but probably around, I think some people are estimating around like Kaido Big Mom height is what I said earlier, in regards to like his comparison to like the Straw Hats and normal humans. We didn't really get any lore in this chapter, not really that I can notice. Wasn't like any major things said. We don't see Robin or Saul in this chapter. We know that the books and Biblo both vanished from the library, but we don't know what happened to them yet. We haven't seen them yet. That'll maybe get resolved later. Maybe they're off with Vegapunk's punk records. That would be a good place to store those things, to store that knowledge. So we'll see what happens there. I think we saw most of the Straw Hats in this chapter. We didn't see Lilith or Bonnie in this chapter, mostly just because like there wasn't much for them to do at the moment. I don't know what good Lilith's gonna be against Emu here. To be quite honest with you, and even if he did find her, he'd probably just want to her. Because of the Vegapunk message. So, most likely there. Not much else. I do like Emu's design. And actually, in this last page, we do get a better look at the back of his cloak. And it does very much look like the symbol of the abyss. With like the little horns on it. So, seems like that. for the Deep Sea Covenant. But again, you know, this is going to be very interesting to see what colors we end up getting on Emu later on, but for how all of this lands. So that's what I have for this video. Not exactly my longest chapter review by a long shot, but hey, you know, not that long of a video means less time to edit. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.